Hello, innovators, and welcome to another episode of the Heitland Show, where I connect the dots of innovation and entrepreneurship with my guests. Today, I host two guests. Alberto is serial entrepreneur who has built a software business that he sold in 2014. Andres grew up in Venezuela, worked in Italy and Belgium before he moved to Spain, first as an intern for Alberto and today as the CEO of The Cube. Together, we explore the stories of Alberto and Andres and dive deep into radical innovation, the ecosystem of the cube, and why having a workation is beneficial for business. Please welcome to the show Alberto Rodriguez and Andres Haddad. Hello, Alberto and Andres. Welcome to the show. Great to have you guys.
Hello, James. Thank you for the invite.
Hello, James. How are you?
Good. And Andres, it's like for everyone who is only listening, you should go to YouTube and check out the video. Andres has an amazing background, way better than my background because he's living and not living, sitting in a nice space. Well, we get to the story of that. Before we go into, of course, innovation, the cube, and all the interesting things you guys are doing or have been doing in the past, let's go a little bit into your personal stories. So let's start with Alberto. Alberto, who are you and how did you get to the place where you are today?
Okay, let's try to summarize because I am 49, James. So I am the kind of
We have time.
serial entrepreneur. My first company, if I remember right, we began with our first tech company when I was 25, and it was a side job. At that time I was working in a couple of corporations, big corporations. I began working in sales in the trade marketing department of L'Oreal and also of Mondelez. Before that, I was a trainee at Nielsen. It's a market research company. It's a market research leader in the world. I was 11 months at Nielsen, and this is important. This topic because my background is business, so I'm not a tech guy. Okay, but I decided to build up a business around technology, developing software. We began in 1999, before the dot-com bubble, in Madrid, Spanish guys with our poor English, as you see, and developing software with the aim to be a global company before the dot-com bubble and everything. So imagine, this was the probability of success today. If you see this, it's probably close to zero. But also this was a side project. So we did this on our holidays, our weekends. So you can imagine. But I think we made something really interesting. And in 2004, we decided to jump to our business 100% of the time. And to make the long story short, in 2014, there was an American company called Nielsen, the same company where I started with when I was 21, that came from New York directly and made an approach, and they bought our company to integrate all our technology inside their processes. So from in 24 hours, let's say, because this was a due diligence of 30 days, so it was very short compared to other processes. And without any experience, we were entrepreneurs, and at that time we have some cash out, we have some money, but we have no project. So imagine. And this was 2014.
Yeah.
So I decided to take a sabbatical, and instead of going to the beach or things like this, I decided to go to the US, to Boston, and to study at the MIT when I was 42. I was 42 at that time. And I remember that this was like a mental spa for me. It was something really interesting because I had no pressure. I was really enjoying the possibility of updating myself, because being an entrepreneur, you don't have a lot of time to really improve or improve on new things. And then I went to Silicon Valley to have a look and to try to understand something on the tech business in the US. And then I came back to Spain, and I decided to start a new thing. We call that new thing the Cube, and this was 2017. And I think it's interesting in this point, if you prefer, to spend some minutes to know Andres, and then we will talk together about this project that is the Cube.
Good, perfect.
Okay,
Thank
so
you,
I
Alberto.
probably my story will be 50% shorter. As I'm 27. I went to the US. I'm from Venezuela. I went to the US to study advertising, something that's not related to what I'm doing today. And after studying advertising, my first job, I'm a person that doesn't like to be quiet. I like to move around, and I'm really hyperactive. And I wanted to do something different, no? So I got my first job in Italy, in Milan, but it was not the typical job, no? I saw all my friends going into big companies, the usual, and I wanted to go into a small company that pretty much was a company that a friend was launching in Milan, and I got on board with him. We developed the project. We were working on the project for like 6 months. We ended up being 4 people. It was a small branding agency for startups, no? So over there is when I first got it was my first touch point with entrepreneurship. But I knew, like, working there, I knew that there was a lot that I didn't knew, no? And people were talking me about a lot of things that I had no clue about what were they talking to me about. So I decided that I needed more education. I decided to stop and go into the Polytechnic of Milan to study entrepreneurship and innovation, no? Because I really thought that it was something that you could learn, no? That you could learn methodologies, tool, you could learn the mindset in order to launch this kind of initiatives, this kind of projects. After doing this master, I think I went into the wrong track, and I ended up working in consultancy in Brussels, no? Something that's really not related to what we're doing now. I was working in the cold Brussels. I really enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun when I was doing it, but it was not my place. So I saw this company called Unlimited in Madrid with a really particular project. They had an open position for an internship. I applied, and probably 4 weeks later, I was working with them remotely from Brussels. I spent like 1 month in Brussels, and then I moved to Madrid. And it was fun because I remember when I got to meet Alberto and to start working at Unlimited at that time, that we only had one innovation project. We only had one innovation project, and I was dedicated full time to that project, no? And Alberto told me one day, I have this idea of working on something related with corporate innovation. We have the infrastructure. Uh, I told him, like, clients, because clients, as we have the Cube, which is an innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem, companies were contacting us to help them with some innovation processes, with some innovation projects. And it was like, I don't even understand, like, how they contact us without us having any offer. So that's when we decided to build an offer, and we built an open innovation department. um, and we sat down, probably a very short meeting, and a 1 hour meeting. And I think the first thing we did was to set our revenue goal for the first year of the revenue goal of the open innovation department. When we told the goal to the other business partners, they thought we were crazy. Probably Alberto also thought that I was crazy, and I was very innocent, so I thought it was, like, reachable. I believed it, and in the first year we made it. We reached the goal. I don't know how, but we reached it. And then the second good idea was to launch the company, launch the corporate innovation and venture building firm in January 2020. And that's when the story began.
So let's go back to 2017, Alberto.
Okay, because 2017 we are going to jump a little bit back. In 2017, we decided that we were going to what took us here won't take us to the future, because we were very lucky. We developed some technologies really interesting on computer vision, based on computer vision. We wrote some IP, some patents, and we protected a little bit the technology, but that, by the way, today it's a commodity. But at that time, it was really interesting. And in 2017, we decided to, instead of jumping into a new project, we decided to jump into 10 projects. So we decided to invest, like, at this time, we have invested like $12 million, more or less. And we wanted to launch 10 different things based on probably tech or related close to technology, and to try to develop different things and to let the market test if we were right or we were wrong, with small investments and with a physical space. Because at that time, I thought that when I was in Boston and when I was in Silicon Valley, if you read about London, probably Amsterdam, Berlin, you had a lot of new places where innovation was happening and concentrating talent. And here in Madrid, at that time, we had something called Campus Madrid, ruled by Google. It's a Google campus network, and then there was one in Madrid and another place from a university, and we thought that the Cube was going to be a physical space for things to happen. But the problem when you decide to make this project physically is that you are looking, for example, for a 1,000 square meter building, but you don't really get this. And at the end, we bought a 5,000 square meters building, which is a lot. And we were, at that time, we were four business partners, four shareholders. So the owner of the building was like, how many people do you have for this 5,000 square meter building with 5 flats? And we said, we are 4. So we have one per guy, and we have another one empty. But it was cheap. We're in a part of Madrid that is not really luxurious, and for startups, this is nice. In Madrid, we don't have a neighborhood of startups. We don't have a place, or we don't have a place where startups are concentrated. It's a strange thing, but it's the reality. So we thought the Cube was going to be an important agent, an important actor in the startup and innovation story. And I think the timing was right. We had the possibility also. We were very lucky, because at that time, Uber, they were looking for a headquarter first for Spain, and they were talking about having a headquarter for the south part of Europe. Okay, so we presented the project. They sent the project directly to San Francisco, and they decided that this was a nice place to have Uber. So we are hosting the Southern Europe headquarters of Uber here since the inception of the Cube. The relationship with them is really very nice, and they support us in lots of things we do for the community, for the innovation community, for startups, etc. So this was 2017. I made this Zoom or Google Meet interview to Andres in 2018. It took me, I was very lucky, because it took me like probably 10 minutes to discover that this guy was outstanding. And we hired him, as he said, as an internship. And now today he's in charge of the Cube. He is the CEO of the Cube. He has a team of 30 people, and he is growing. He's doubling the business every year. We are selecting strategically customers today, which is something a little bit egocentric, if you can say this, Jens, because
yeah,
you cannot say no. We are choosing our clients, but the reality is that Andres is choosing the clients very strategically, because there is no time to lose. With 30 people, we are a very, very small team, and it's a question of opportunities. So if we make a list of really, really interesting companies that we want to work for, we go for it. And this is another part of the story.
yeah. So if we go into the cube, so for people who have never heard about GCube, so I understand like one part is the building. What is the building now about, and what is like inside the building, so that people get a perspective to that. Maybe Andres, you can give an overview of that.
I, I, I will tell it to you with a story because I think it's the best way for people to understand. So I'm gonna start where I stopped last time, and we launched Unlimited Open Innovation January 2020. No, so we wanted to be a corporate innovation and venture development firm, and in things were going right. We wanted to double revenue that year, and as you know, in March, sorry, pandemic came, and the first budget corporations stopped was the innovation budget. No, on the other hand, the cube was mainly a physical space and in an ecosystem, and the cube through the last years built a really strong brand within the innovation community in Spain. So we were really scared to lose what the cube had built as of today, because no one would go to the cube. We didn't know when a person would go back to the cube back
Yeah.
then. And in Unlimited Open Innovation, we were working really hard on building a brand. And we always made fun of this because even we were working very hard building Unlimited Open Innovation brand, our customers called us the cube.
Yeah.
So 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 I was talking with Alberto in June 2020, and we thought it was a good decision to fusion both companies, no, to fusion Unlimited Open Innovation and the Cube. So now we have two verticals. We have the Radical Innovation vertical, which is based on innovation services, and then we have the other vertical that we call Inspiring Spaces. No, we apart from our proprietary methodologies that we've been building through time and the innovation services, we also wanna create the environment that in the beginning fosters creativity, innovation, helps for ideation, but also the environment that helps for execution of the projects.
Yeah.
So our two main pillars are radical innovation and inspiring spaces. But at the end, our purpose is helping corporations to face challenges through radical innovation.
Yeah. And then inside the cube, are there still startups sitting and kind of mingling with the corporations, or how does that work?
Yeah. We have two ways to collaborate with startups. Or we build the startups for the corporates. So we have some startups we've built for corporates growing inside the cube. And in the other hand, we scout for startups globally. We validate their technology, we validate their product, and then we help them to get to collaborate with the corporate first through a POC, and then depending on the corporate need, we take different paths.
Yeah. And the corporates, are they then sitting inside the cube, inside the physical space as well, engaging with the startups? Maybe let's
Yeah.
move to Alberto a little bit.
Yeah, for example, today that I am unlucky, as you see, because I'm not at the beach like Andres. And I came across some of our clients because they have some of them, they have physical spaces, they have innovation labs, and they can come here to really have these creative meetings and even have their own meetings. So we have, today I came across some of them from Daimler, from Mercedes, okay,
Yeah.
from Procter and Gamble, or from another local company that is called Diolio, that they are market leaders in olive oil. That
Yeah.
now that you are in Spain, you will taste a lot of good olive oil. So yes, we have some. In fact, they prefer to work here, and they come here really to get inspiration, to come across some of the startups, because we, as Andres was saying, we scout more than 1,000 startups per year. We curate them. We talk to them. There is no automated system to really scrape startups and put it on a database. We talk to them because we are in the same page as they are. We try to understand the potential, and some of them are here in acceleration programs, corporate acceleration programs, and also we have the credentials, Jens, because we launch our own startups with our own money. We launched like 10 startups, as I told you. 5 of them, we had to close them, and this is normal, the reality. And the rest of them, they are here. So you can see a very diverse atmosphere, because you can see the funny thing, James, is that when the corporate guys, they come here, they come with jeans, okay, and a t-shirt. The rest of the week, they go with their suits, and they go on a proper way to their headquarters. But when they come here, it's a tradition, and they come here and they say to me, look, I am with the t-shirt. And I say, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, so they can really feel like home as well when they come into the cube. That's brilliant.
One interesting topic before you ask me the another thing is that we don't believe, we feel that we don't believe on the other way around. We don't believe on corporate headquarters with a like a glass room with startup guys. And this is very common because some of our clients, they create these spaces inside their corporate headquarters, and they have, like in a zoo, they have some guys wearing jeans and writing on the glass walls, and we don't see this merge very. We feel it insane because they have different objectives, and these corporate guys, they go out at 6 p.m. and they have their big cars, company cars, and they go out of the headquarters, and you have these poor startup guys really struggling with their technical problems. And at the end of the day, these guys, they want to be the corporate guy, So by being on the other way around, 90% of the flavor of the atmosphere is a startup. So we get the other way, that is believing on execution, because startups is all about execution.
Yeah. Great one. So, Andres, why do you sit in a different space than in the cube right now? Can you tell that story?
Yeah, we tend to be really radical on our decisions, and as Alberto was saying, we have Uber in our building, and one day we did like a small event where the of Uber Spain was presenting, talking about they keep their startup culture being so big, and he was talking about the beginnings of Uber, and he talked about in the really beginning they had this called workation, where if you had a project, they will pay you a week in whatever you wanted, I think, and you would go with your team to develop a project. No, by coincidence, in that event there were a lot of people from the cube in the present. So 2 weeks later, we had an internal workshop where we wanted to develop ideas on how to improve the performance of our teams. No, so as you would imagine, the winning idea was to have a workation place. It's and Alberto took it really seriously, And I'm not really sure, but probably 6 months later, we had the Cube Sahara. And the Cube Sahara strategically was also like an intention letter, no, for our ecosystem, because when people saw us, no, doing the things we do in Madrid, they would naturally ask, "And where you gonna open next?
Mm,
Paris, London, Barcelona, Rome?" And
mm,
we were, no, 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 no. Leave that to our competition. We're gonna open in Sahara de los Atunes, in the south of Spain, in the edge, no,
yeah,
because normally, if in the city, you have pollution, but I'm not talking about the air pollution or environmental pollution. I'm talking about the traffic. I'm talking about your everyday problems. I'm talking about uh, getting to the office and a lot of people talking to you, looking at the same things, no, the routine, your day to day tasks and stuff. So we really wanted a place that's not easy to reach, but we have it really well built in a way that we can bring our clients in a really efficient way. But it's a place that you feel that you are really away from home. You can look Africa from here, so you are in
yeah,
the middle. You like you can see another continent that's very different. So it's a place. It's a place to think. It's a place to ideate, to be creative, and to open perspective, to open your mind, because it's really hard to really get radical ideas in the environment where you move on an everyday basis. No, you really need to get out, to explore, to see things that you have never seen before, and to feel different sensations and stuff. And I, I was talking to Alberto when he was here last week, and we were like, look, here you can stop and feel the breeze, no, feel the air coming into your face, uh, being relaxed. Like in the morning, if we want to take a 1 hour walk, we take it, and but then we come back and we are super inspired and we get really focused on our work. And then we take another break and we go to the beach, we take a swim, and we come back, and then we get to focus again on our work. And I see it for working with our team here and with clients here, that the quality of the conversations that you get here, the quality of the insights, the points of view that you get from being in a place like this, that is not only a nice villa, it's a place
yeah,
that's prepared to work. It's a place with high-speed Wi-Fi. It's a place with boards where you can write. It's a place with tables where you can work. um it's I like to call it as, in Sara we get creative. It's our way of opening our mind and having the great ideas, and then we go to the Cube Madrid for execution. Over there
yeah,
is where things happen. Here things get created.
yeah. How is it with the companies? Maybe now moving to Alberto, do you invite the companies to go to the Zara house as well, or a station, however you call that? How do you work with the corporates in that environment?
Mm, we are reserving this 50% of the time for our employees. In
Mm,
the whole ecosystem, we are like 85 employees today in the different startups. So 50% of the nights, like in a hotel, are reserved for employees. They can go there. They can prepare a project. We get the tickets. There are some ladies cooking for them,
mm,
and they can spend 1 week, 2 weeks. But the priority is the other 50% of nights that are our partners.
yeah,
And if you are partner of the Cube, by default, by being partner of the Cube, you have already some nights reserved in the year, depending on the partner. You can have 5, 10 nights. So you can go alone. You can ask for, because everything is IoT enabled. So
mm,
you can ask for the codes and you can go with your team alone, or you can ask us, Andres and me and the team, to be with you because you want an external point of view, or you want us to really think outside the box on new topics. So we prepare these things and they come, and there are some services like the trip, or like we have some catering facilities, and this is the way. Do we have a lot of petitions because this is so cute? Probably, Jens, the future should look pretty much like the Cube Sahara for everybody, for all of us.
Yeah.
Probably sooner or later we will be able to work. When you work in a creative job, you will need some of the extra air that these open air places give to you. So these partners, they can ask for the slot, and we prepare it, and they can go. Normally they go with us in the first year that has been this year, because with COVID, as you can imagine, it was very difficult. We were very lucky because this was an office from the company, so we have the special permission to really travel by car and go into the Cube. And this was fresh air for everybody, because if you are in the middle of the lockdown and you don't see your teammates, today is even more important. So, and for clients, it's also more important. So they, as you know, probably today, they are still not traveling a lot, and some of our partners, they have forbidden trips. So fortunately, this has been very interesting for us to really exploit internally the Cube Sahara for our employees. And the result is excellent, because when you are in a screen, as we are today, 100% of the time, as you know, the connections are not so strong. You don't really know about the people's lives, and the attention is really difficult to get. So if you spend one week with your team, and Andres now is spending with part of the team this week, new guys that they have been in the company probably 3 months, 4 months, the quality of relationships improves a lot, the quality of teamwork improves a lot, and I think that this is the very interesting thing for clients and for us.
Yeah, I love the concept. I think it's really not just an innovative concept; it's also a future-focused concept, because we all know that the pandemic has changed how we think about going into offices, and corporates are kind of like selling properties right now. I was just talking to a property person the other day that, like, one of the big corporates sold 50% of their office spaces because they think they will never go back to the office in the old way. So it's a very interesting future concept. Moving us a little bit into innovation and what you see with the engagement of the corporates. If we look from maybe using the pandemic a little bit, what are the biggest pain points you're helping clients with in the moment from a Cube perspective? And specifically, as the next point, I would like to go into radical innovation. But let's start with, like, what are the main pain points, Andres?
I mean, first, when you, as I was saying before, no, when you are in a day-to-day environment where you have your day-to-day responsibilities, no, when you have your day-to-day problems, it's really hard to think. It's really hard to think, to get creative, and to really look out, no, because if we look teams from an external point of view, every person has a really zoomed in way of seeing, but you don't have a chance to look at the big picture, no, and to understand the value transactions within a company. I question what you're doing, and we really help them to get out, to think, and to re-ideate, rethink the way they work, to develop new ideas, and to change the way they interact with their clients and with their teams internally. But beyond that, we have the capacity of executing really fast, with like developing fast, getting results fast, iterating, and building stuff, no, which is something that corporations that is not something that corporations do very well beyond their core products, beyond their core services. Because imagine when you have a company with a lot of processes, with a very strict structure that of course you need to have these processes in corporations because they need to be efficient in a certain way. So what we do is if you have a way on the right and a way on the left, we go in the middle because we wanna see what's in the middle and we execute as we see as we go. As we don't have any prefixed methodologies. We don't have any prefix systems. We don't have any prefix way of doing things. So everything we do is innovative.
Yeah.
So I think the main pain points are on one side that you are always in your zoomed in perspective and you need to be shaken and taken to the top in order for you to see the whole picture. And then,
Yeah.
okay, you have a great idea, but you need to execute it, no? And to execute it, you need the resources to execute it, you need the time, and you need to know how to execute without having a path, which is something that entrepreneurs do very well. So that's I think our main advantage over there.
Yeah, I to sum up a little bit things on this idea, I think that companies, big corporations, they have been really during the 70s and the 80s very worried about size, about globalization, about economies of scale. So they have been developing this mainly the size. Then they turn, if you remember, to quality. Everything was about quality, brand quality, all these things. This was the 90s. Then they then become the digitalization or digital transformation. And today, in the 2020s, they are focused again, or they are focused on innovation and sustainability. Those are the main topics. There is no more important thing in a board of directors than talking about what are we doing on innovation and what are we doing on sustainability. So it's a big topic for corporations, and it's true that every process that make them efficient kills innovation, because innovation at some point at the beginning is chaotic, is uncertain. So for them is very difficult to really put this on the table and to really advance. And in our case, we are focused on the difficult part of innovation, that is execute the idea. Having the idea is nice, and is a very interesting topic for a lot of consultancy firms and a lot of agencies around innovation, because it's the funny thing, it's the most happiest part of the innovation process to discover an idea and to put a name to this. Those are the magic minutes, and from that minutes to the end, everything is suffering. You know.
Are you then working with the innovation departments, or is it like different departments? Doesn't really matter from the organizations.
I mean, we work with from the lead team of organizations to innovation departments. We have contacts in the innovation departments, but then also human resources or business development departments. I think we get contacted by many different departments, but because every department needs to innovate. Some need to innovate internally, and others need to innovate externally. But we see that we get contacted by and we have touch point with different departments within the corporation. So we start with one department, with the innovation department usually, but then we go into many different departments, probably departments that we would have never imagined that would be talking to us.
Yeah. Radical innovation. What is different from radical innovation than normal innovation? Or what is your definition of radical innovation?
Alberto,
Let's
you
start
and me.
with Alberto.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. For us, as we wanted to really develop a very strong competitive positioning, we decided to. We are very radical personally. We make these crazy things as putting our second hub in the beachfront or things like this. So for us, being radical was something really natural. And also we thought that making something nobody has done in any market should be something that is interesting for companies. because brand stretchability for a lot of businesses is larger than they think. And we are seeing this every day. We are seeing how fast-moving consumer good brands, they jump into technology, how technology brands or digital brands are jumping into the offline world. So there is something about radical things that moves really big movements, no, and big bets. So for us, going beyond the core of the business was really interesting, because we consider that if you need to innovate, of course you need to innovate. You need to make constantly innovation on product, services, processes, all these things. For us, this is normal innovation. You can do it by yourself. You don't need the help or the advice from people that we are thinking really outside of the box. And we train our people, Jens, on what we call this cognitive flexibility. This means that they can really, they have no idea about, they are not experts, not experts on the topics, but they catch up very quickly. They are able to make these business analogies and these not obvious connections between things that are happening in one industry to another industry. And what is really interesting from an intellectual point of view is to really think on radical possibilities that today we have with different technologies that are really technologies that are today mature and we can use them. We are not talking about new things, because those are very experimental and we are not on that business. But having the things that are mature today, we can build up propositions and put in the market some really new things and try to really be at the point where this is going to explode. So this is for us radical innovation, and this for me, that is going beyond the core, much beyond the core, to the border of the business.
Yeah. Andres, I can imagine it's like you're getting phone calls every day of people who want to work with you. How do you deal with that? And I guess on client side and on like employee side.
Yeah. Well, one day I remember a client asked me, "How much do you pay to work at the Cube?" And I mean, we try very hard to be a company with a lot of talent density. So of course, it's the Cube. It's a company that has become really attractive for talent to work at. But we have a process that I think it's a really natural process where we really get to understand the people, if culturally they fit with the company, if they have the mindset to fit in the company beyond their skills. Because if you have the attitude, if you have the right mindset, I don't care. I don't care if you have the skills today or not, because if you have the right attitude, you will build the skills. So when we're gonna bring someone on board, we make sure that the mindset is aligned. It's a learn it all people, not know it all. We don't want know it alls in our environment, because they inhibit innovation. They inhibit the new things because they already know that this cannot be done, or they already tried. So we want sometimes I like to call it like being innocent. No, probably many of the things we've done, the radical great things we've done, is because we were innocent and we thought it was possible. So we found a way to make it possible when people probably thought us that it won't be possible. So having the right team, a team that collaborates in the proper way, that it's really stimulated by what they do, and seeing the outcomes on their projects, how they get implicated into every project, it's something really interesting. Sadly, I cannot answer all the LinkedIn messages I receive of people asking to work at the Cube, but I send all of them to our human resources department. All of the CVs or the LinkedIn links whenever I get a request. So So I think our HR department is the door of our club, no?
Yeah.
So they
And I
need to
think
be
it's,
really aligned with us.
if I understand that right, it's also important to have this culture fit to be able to work with the clients in the way you work. Because if you have someone who knows everything, let's say, I mean, I've worked there, so I can say that coming from a large consultancy, um, they often, and I have worked with people, they have worked 30 years in the consultancy. They have never worked anywhere else in their whole life. So they know everything.
Yeah.
That's the attitude. So putting someone like this into your ecosystem will directly, let's say, not enhance the client relationship because it's a different mindset, and the clients will not be challenged in the way because they will just
It
get a solution instead of
totally.
a challenge. Huh.
They will get a solution based on best practices because
Yeah.
it's based on the experience these people have, and we really wanna get different solutions, solutions to complex problems that are the problems we try to solve. And if you need to solve complex problems, you need to experiment, you need to try new things, and probably you will get the best insights, you will get the best solutions for things that at the beginning would not make sense, but when you start modeling it, when you start iterating, it starts making sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a big part. And also, um, you need to trust the people you have around you in your team, and more when you are a company like as we call it, that we have freedom in a framework, no? And I think our framework is our purpose, nothing beyond
Mm.
that. But people inside have freedom of doing their things, of doing the things how they think it should be done, and having also that psychological safety, no, that
Mm.
we all make mistakes, doesn't matter your position, doesn't matter your level of experience, and it's a moment to learn. We learn from each other. I think yesterday I was talking to other team members here that it's actually so enriching that any person that comes into a team, doesn't matter their position, from intern to other positions, you learn from anyone. And something I really take into account when interviewing a person is, does this person knows something that I don't know?
Yeah.
And because having that diversity of knowledge in the team is interesting, and also having those very diverse backgrounds, it's crucial.
Yeah. Moving to the last part of the podcast interview, where I ask always a couple of questions that I ask every guest, and I will now start with Alberto asking one question and then using a different one for you, Andres. So Alberto, if you could work with a project that is impacting every human being on Earth, like literally every human being on Earth will be impacted by a project or a thing you do. Um, what project would you choose, and why would you choose that project?
I would choose how to populate a new type of food that can agriculture that can grow on salty water, because we have a lot of poor people living very close to the sea, onto the oceans. And we have discovered that this technology, or these cereals, are already there. And a Spanish three Michelin star chef, he discovered this 2 years ago. And now
Mm.
the really important thing is how to spread this in order to really have a good solution for the world, to have this resource that is a very, very difficult resource to get in some parts of the world, that is sweet water. How can we use salty water, not purify salt water in order to have a kind of sweet water, but to have this agriculture, plants that are plant-based, and you can do it 15 meters away from the sun. This is my dream.
Yeah, nice one. Andres, where will you be in a year from now? And you can answer that professionally, which is like the cube in a year, and or personal or both?
I think I will link it. And where I will be today, I mean, the Cube Sahara. So probably in 1 year we will be, I don't know, we were talking about the Cube Cartagena, Colombia, something. But I will probably be there in a really different destination, but and trying to make the Cube a company with a global impact. And that's our vision. That's our vision now. And probably if we want to make a global impact, we need to have places where people can innovate like this in other
Yeah.
places.
Good. Last question to both of you. How do you keep yourself up to date and informed on the different topics that interest you? And we start with Alberto again.
My main sources of learning are I read a lot in LinkedIn and also in Twitter. And the problem is that I am all the time sending things to everybody. Even if I read the hot topic and I resend it to Andres, I resend it to other people, and probably if I were working in France, I will be in jail because you cannot send these WhatsApp messages at 2 a.m. in the morning. But my main sources today are LinkedIn, because LinkedIn it was not as powerful as it's today, and Twitter. This is what I do, and I today that I use my glasses and I am reading. I am listening to a lot of audiobooks today also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Andres.
think my main source of information in the day to day is LinkedIn, because it's something that you have in your hand. I also have an app that's called Blinklist that I used a lot. That's like shortcuts of books, short like small pills of books or resume. So I'm always listening to blinks, and then if I get interested into a book, then I get into the book, but I already know the main concepts. No. Also, Alberto and me, we teach in Mioti. In the Cube, we have an university called Mioti, which is a business and tech school. So we teach entrepreneurship and innovation, and then other classes on new technologies, new technology applications. So I always push myself to give the students the latest, and depending on the class, I'm always like trying to get new content, trying to get the latest for them. And also it's fun, but I'm gonna go back to my team. I have a group, an internal group with my team, where we're all the time sending information to the rest, but information about anything, like from food, from a new restaurant that opened in Madrid, to like really interesting articles about pretty much anything. So I think it's just I learn by being curious. No?
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. How can people connect to you and get in touch with you?
I think the best way is LinkedIn. I think.
Hmm.
Yes, because today, honestly, we receive lots of contacts and people trying to, I don't know, be interested on the Cube or being interested on working here. And even we receive some funny offerings like opening the Cube in other parts of the world. So for me, I think it's LinkedIn and then the most the easiest way to contact me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Andres?
I would say first point of contact, LinkedIn, all the time. Like, we met each other through LinkedIn. I
Yeah.
tend to answer pretty fast, but then when you know me, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is the best way to talk to me on an everyday basis.
Okay, super. Alberto, Andres, thank you very much for making the time. Getting onto the podcast was a pleasure to interview you, and I learned a lot. I have 2 A4 pages of notes, so thank you very much for the teaching and learning exercise, and as well, thank you for your interesting stories. I'm really looking forward, and will follow you on how the Cube is making global impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
to
you
you,
very
James.
much, Jens.
And James, next time, you and me, we will be at the Cube Sahara, and Andres must be in Madrid. So next next podcast. It will be in Thai, I promise.
Okay, let's do that.
I
Okay.
agree. That's fine.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jen.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. You will find the links and resources in the show notes of this episode. If you would like to support the podcast, the most impactful thing you can do is subscribing to the show on any of the podcasting platforms and give me a review. This will help me to reach more innovators around the world and bring some of you into the show. If you have any question to the guest or want to engage with me, feel free to reach out to me on social media and contact me there.